Welcome back to Mindful Trinity. Good day to our viewers. I'm so grateful that you chose Mindful Trinity as your podcast. Listen, learn, to grow, and move forward. Our special guest for today is an experienced senior executive, is a business and personal coach, and a mentor that is able to operate at strategic levels and in operations, who has demonstrated the ability to lead diverse teams of highly skilled professionals, new levels of success in a variety of competitive and demanding projects and fast-paced environments. Is supported by technical and business and also finance-related qualifications with a track record of more than 30 years of hand-on experience. So he also has experience in supply chain management, strategic planning, business unit development, and project and development management. So we are joined today by Sigi Naidoo from Johannesburg in South Africa. He also told me he commutes back and forth from Cape Town and Johannesburg. So he's going to tell us more about that. And we're actually going to take this time that we're going to be discussing about how he's going to be helping our viewers, Mindful Trinity viewers, and we'll actually get to know him better. So welcome, Sigi. I'm so grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to be here to enlighten all of us. Thank you so much.
Morning, Vaishnavi. Morning to your listeners and your viewers. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you, to chat with you, and to share with you. A very good morning from a very crisp and cool Johannesburg this morning. So thank you for this opportunity.
Okay, awesome. Maybe tell us more about Sigi Naidoo and what led you to get into coaching specifically. And also tell us more about, you actually explained to me earlier that you commute back and forth from Cape Town and Johannesburg. That is why your accent is quite confusing. That is why I asked you that in the beginning as well.
So, like I said to you, I'm born in Cape Town. Primary home is in Cape Town. Secondary home, if you like, in Johannesburg. So we commute between Cape Town and Johannesburg. That's the primary route. Office is in Johannesburg. We've got offices in the other cities as well, but basically the commute takes place from Johannesburg to all over the country and to the rest of Africa as well. Like I said to you earlier on, we've been doing this for the past 20 years, and you kind of get used to it. You settle in, you pick up the challenges, and you work your way around the challenges. Prior to COVID, a lot of the commute took place regularly. We've obviously slowed down a bit because of COVID. And the travel time between Johannesburg and Cape Town is about 2 hours. And in that 2 hours in the plane, I use that to clean up all my emails. So by the time I land on the other side, my inbox is clean. So it works very well. So I've learned to make good use of it. So that's basically from a commute point of view. A little bit about myself. I studied or read quantity surveying, project management, and coaching. I am currently the Chief Operating Officer for an engineering company whose head office is in Johannesburg. For me, the journey over the last many years has been about how can I share my knowledge and skills with the people out there, with those around me? How can I help empower other people to benefit from the challenges that I went through so that we don't have to repeat the same challenges? So others can grow quicker and faster by learning from one another. So throughout my career, I've always done mentoring and coaching, more on an informal basis. I myself have managed my growth through mentoring and coaching. I've learned a lot from other people. If I can use an analogy, I stood on the backs of other people, on the shoulders of other people. And by doing that, it kind of sort of fast-tracked my growth as well. So over the last 10, 15 years, I thought about how can I increase my coaching and mentoring of other people? And I then decided to do a formal coaching program through the University of Cape Town Graduate School. And that was around 2017. It was a 2-year program. And when I started this program, it was all about what can I do to help other people? And little did I realize that it's going to be turning the other way around. It was a complete turnaround instead of me learning about how can I help other people, I learned about how can I help myself. And for me, that was an absolutely phenomenal journey. I learned about myself. What are my likes? What are my dislikes? What are the sunny days in my life? What's the rainy days in my life? I learned about where I came to this realization that I am largely, I think it's left brain, more technical. And I needed to balance it out by doing some of the stuff that's less technical. And by achieving that balance, it brought a balance in my life. If I can use this analogy, basically when we go through our daily life, we have this roller coaster that was very highs and very lows. And through this coaching program, I've managed to smooth out these highs and lows. And that for me has been a major discovery about myself. And it's not that there are no highs and lows in my life. It's just about smoothing out, Vaishnavi. So that has been my coaching journey. And that is what I really want to share with the people out there and to help them empower themselves with a similar journey.
I actually like what you said, that when you actually did this coaching course, your intention was to help people. And I think most of us that are in the space where we want to serve, and you're actually in the same space, you're thinking about others. But when you actually went into that mindset to do this course with the intention to help others, ultimately or automatically, somehow it came back to you and you helped yourself within that and you grew. And that is why you're actually living your purpose. And that's why I also say, when I actually was doing some soul searching during the course few years, or the past few years, I was actually trying to figure out, who am I? What do I really want to achieve? And who do I really want to impact? And that's how I came to the realization what I really want to do. And you also mentioned the support structure. You actually learn from other mentors, and that's why you're actually doing this to also make an impact on others. So it's like a holistic type of environment that you actually created and still creating, because we want to support each other. And I feel in anything in life, whether it's actually family, friends, community, when we support each other, it becomes healthier and we all tend to grow ultimately. You know? Yeah. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, and what I'm not saying is not that I got a lot more happier or being in a happy, clappy space. Not at all. It's just a case of being a lot more calmer, a lot more understanding of the universe and our environment, and be able to cope with things a lot better. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the difference that came about.
Yes, I actually do agree. It's absolutely it's so important, especially during this old COVID. I think all of us were forced out of our comfort to get to know ourselves better, basically to dive within, get to know who's the real person. And a lot of us didn't really know ourselves before this. We didn't like the person that we were becoming because we were forced to be within the four walls in our homes. If we were fortunate enough, we actually had our families around us. Not a lot of us actually have that. And those that do have the families around them, they've been spending 24/7 with the same people around them. And so a lot of clashes started taking place.
True.
Yeah. And also a lot of people have been living in their heads. Depression, stress, anxiety, all of these emotions started coming out. With that being said, what are your views on stress, anxiety, and depression?
Vaishnavi, I think, let me say up front, I am not the expert in this field.
Okay.
However, if I can say as a non-expert, the challenges of stress, anxiety, depression affects all of us in some way or the other. I think there's very few people can say that they are not afflicted by this in any way. Stress is common to everybody. Anxiety happens in our daily lives all the time. And I think that's the first point I would like to maybe say to everybody. Just know that you're not alone. That happens to all of us. And secondly is maybe to say to your viewers and your listeners, it is not a weakness. It is not a weakness to identify that I'm struggling with stress or anxiety or depression. On the contrary, I would even say it's a strength to say, I've got a challenge. I need help. So I would say in this space, just know you're not alone. And also there's lots of help out there. It's a strong person that comes through and says, I need help. And help comes in two forms. One, there's a help that you've got to pay for, whether you're seeing a psychologist, a counselor, a coach, or a mentor. But having said that, there's plenty of free help in the universe as well. We just got to open up our eyes and we'll see around us, our family, our friends, our colleagues, online. There is no shortage of free help. So the key element for me in this space is just know you're not alone. And it's not a weakness. It's a strength to come out and talk about it.
Okay, thank you so much. And I actually do like that because a lot of times when people go through this, they feel they are alone and they feel all the walls are actually closing up on them. And it's very difficult for them to actually find someone to trust. But like you said, when you open up yourself, you actually find that help, whether it's actually in the form of friends, family, or strangers in the online world, or also, there's you can actually use your phone and call. There's a helpline and all of that. You also mentioned that you're not an expert, and I do appreciate that, but I know you do have a lot of experience in this space. And I'm not sure whether you do know how to actually find some sort of psychological and emotional signs of stress. Do you know anything of that?
Absolutely. And again, as a non-expert, how often do we hear people say, oh, I can't cope anymore. I'm struggling to cope. You hear people talk about, I don't sleep well. I've lost my appetite. I'm angry all the time. I'm irritable all the time. You hear people talk about, I've got the flu regularly. I'm sick regularly. So for me, there's plenty of signs. The challenge is to everybody is listen to your body. If you're able to listen to your body, you're able to pick up the signs. The body almost talks to us. The body gives us warning signs. When I've got a headache, I've got to take a tablet for the headache. So that's a warning sign that something is not right. My suggestion for me personally is for me to listen to my body. Where there is something that manifests in the body, that's a sign that something is going right. Either I'm stressed or I'm anxious or I'm slightly depressed, whatever the case may be. But there's plenty of signs. Just a simple Google search will give you a long list of signs that can help your viewers.
Okay. But with that being said as well, I think Google also scares us. I know when I actually do a search on Google of any symptom that I'm actually experiencing, I actually get scared.
But you're right, Vaishnavi. We hear so much about fake news even, which is becoming more and more the norm.
Yeah.
With everything in life, for me, I would say, I use Google as a guide.
Yes.
Just to maybe prompt the mind, to prompt the thoughts. We mustn't take Google as gospel. Google is not a doctor. It may guide me, it may help me identify some of the symptoms and some of the signs, and then I must use that to decide, do I need formal help or can I help myself? If I can help myself by taking a headache tablet, that's fine. But if I need formal help, then I must go see a specialist or someone that practices in a particular field. So I would use Google purely as a guide.
Do it on your own. Approach someone that's more professional that can actually help you or guide you through your process. You also, can you tell us, how can we bring about change in ourselves for our own benefit and to impact others?
Okay. Vaishnavi, to bring about the change in ourselves so that we can try to help others. First of all, I'm a strong believer that I cannot really change other people, but I can change myself. Okay. I may be able to influence other people.
Yeah,
that's what I may be able to, but I can't really change other people. And how do I go about changing myself? Before I can change myself, I must first know what is it I want to change. Okay, so if we can just quickly talk about what is it I want to change, how to get to that space very quickly, all right? So one of the things that I do on a daily basis is early in the morning, either when I arrive at work or before I leave home, I sit still for a very short space of time. And I try to analyze, how am I feeling at the moment? Am I feeling okay, not okay? Irrespective of okay or not okay, ask the question, why am I not feeling okay? Or why am I feeling okay? What has brought this about? And I do that 2 or 3 times during the day. I stop for a short break of 1 minute or so. And I take note of how am I feeling and what brought that about. Was I in a difficult meeting? Did I have an argument with someone? And the whole purpose of these moments of reflection is to find out, what is it in me I need to change? Do I need to change the way I interact with someone? Do I need to change the way I react to someone? Do I need to change the way I talk to someone, etc., etc.? So that comes back to what you said earlier about listening to your body. The body stores the emotions, the happiness, the sadness, the grief, etc., etc. If I can identify what are these emotions in me that I'm trapping or capturing that I need to change, then I can begin to start this process of bringing about the change. So the question is, how do I go about making those changes? Okay. So again, keeping in mind, I can't change other people. I can only change myself. And the change can come about in 2 ways. One, once I've identified what it is I need to change in myself, I can either do the change on my own, or I can seek help. Seeking help is going for professional help, counselor, coach, mentor, psychologist, etc., etc. If I can use the analogy of a drug addict, I mean, it's a common analogy where everybody says, you can only help a drug addict when that person acknowledges, I've got a problem. That's critical. Number one, that drug addict, to get to that stage, can get there in one of 2 ways. On their own, they can get to the realization, I need help, or somebody can help them get there. But the decision and the action is only within that person. The person who helps that person cannot make a decision for the drug addict. Now, I know that's an extreme example, but similarly, how to bring about change in ourselves, that's the decision I must make. I can only make a decision for myself that I need to change my anger. I need to reduce my anger. I need to reduce the way I react to you. I need to change the way I talk to you. That's the realization I must achieve on my own. Once I've achieved that realization, which is half the battle won, the other half, I need to action it now. Now I need to decide, I'm going to bring about the change on my own, or I'm going to seek help. And like I said, the help can be in many forms. So in terms of bringing about these changes, we can choose the route that we want to go. And I'm repeating myself, the big thing is the realization on what needs to be done and how do I get to that space. And that for me is a critical element in everybody's lives.
Yeah, I actually do agree. It actually all boils down to the same thing. And repetition is actually good, because that's the only way we can actually implement it in ourselves and make it a good habit. Because habits because every day we actually get good habits and bad habits.
So my recommendation for me is that try to do things in small bites. Yeah. Even if we talk about sitting still, taking a break, try to do the breaks in short bites. Mm-hmm. And that way it's a lot more sustainable of a long period of time, because we're so busy. The world we live in is so complex and so fast-paced. We don't always have the time to take out 1 hour for exercise or 1 hour for a break, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So live life in small bites, if possible.
I actually do like that. I actually have a spiritual mentor as well. And when I started meditation, I started doing just like, I think it was about 8 to 10 minutes a day. And then when I actually got used to it, I got taste for it. I increased the amount, because normally practitioners of this type of meditation they practice for about 2 hours a day. And it was very overwhelming for me. I thought, oh, I'm going to do this, get up early in the morning, because the morning is actually the best time to practice anything that's in the mode of goodness, whether it's actually studying or starting your day working, or even meditation, or even exercise. But I said, gosh, I love my sleep so much. How am I going to do it? So I started small. I started small, and it became better as the years and as the
Yes.
days went by. Yeah. How can we implement the knowledge from the universe, from friends, from family? All of these different elements and different people into our lives that will ultimately help us in our journey of growth and development.
Okay. Yeah, I spoke earlier about free help and paid help. So in the universe that we live in, there is so much to help us. The universe is nature, the plants, the animals, our friends, our family, our colleagues. If I can use this analogy, so when I go for a run, sometimes when I'm not running in the gym, I'm running out of the road. I run past the various houses. I look at the paint colors on the house. I look at the gardens and I say to myself, I like that color. I don't like that color. I like this plant and I don't like that plant. I'm actually building up the knowledge. So next time when I want to paint my own house or do planting in my own garden, I picked up the knowledge by just observing other people's homes and what's happening around me. So like that, I'm saying to everybody, be aware that we are surrounded by so many free examples or free learnings, if you like. Similarly, when we are with our family and friends and even colleagues at work, how often when we go to a wedding, we say, I don't like the way that auntie spoke. And I don't like the words that uncle used. That is a learning for us to remember, okay, that's not the way I must speak. That's not the way I am. That's not the words I must use. So around us, we have this plenty and plenty of examples to learn from. When to speak loud, when to speak soft. Sometimes at work, our colleagues speak too loud, they shout at us. That's a learning for me to remember. When I engage with someone else, I must maybe use my soft voice. I mustn't use my loud voice. So in that way, I'm saying, be present when engaging with the universe, and you'll be amazed of how many lessons you can pick up from the universe. I mean, for me, a big thing is to listen. I do what I call mindful walks. So when I go for a mindful walk, I try to refocus the mind away from the everyday challenges. For me, it's almost impossible to still the mind, to completely stop the mind. I think that's very difficult to do. So when I go for a walk, I listen to the sounds around me. Or even when I drive, if I'm driving to work, or if I'm driving to a very difficult meeting, and I can feel that the nervousness is coming in and the panic is slowly coming in, I try to refocus the mind. I switch off the radio. I listen to the tires on the road. I listen to the cars go past. I try to identify as many of the sounds around me. And when I get to my place of work or the place of meeting, I find I'm a little bit calmer. Obviously, never totally calm, but a little bit calmer. So those are the little tricks that we can use on a daily basis at work, at home, everywhere. And these things are available to us around us. Use the things around us to help us in our day-to-day lives.
Thank you so much for that. I agreed with everything that you said, and I actually liked what you said about the mindful walks and even the mindful driving, being more aware, more present in everything that you do. And I also try to practice that all the time. And every day is a new day to learn. And like now, I'm actually learning from you so much. So my next question was to actually ask you if you have any practical ways and how you cope with stress. And I think you already answered that in my previous question. If you want to add to that, you can actually add that.
Yeah, and maybe just quickly say, I mean, very often we take a break to have a cup of tea. That is a good practical step to do. The difference would be to take a moment out, sit still, quiet, all alone, and have a cup of tea. If I can use this analogy, okay? In a typical life, we go to work, it's fast-paced. There is no time to sit and relax normally. So when we start the first meeting at 8 o'clock, our stress level is, say, 10. By the second meeting is 20. By the afternoon meeting is sitting at 50. By the time we go home, it's probably 100. We take the stress home. So what I tend to do is that after my first meeting, if it was a stressful meeting, I take a break for 1 minute. I sit still for 1 minute and I bring my heart rate down by 20% or 30%. And I do that after every stressful moment during the day, just a 1 minute break. And by the time I go home, my stress level, instead of being at 100, is probably at 50. It's not gone, but it's just a lot better. So for me, that is one practical step that really, really works well. And the other one I also want to mention is say no. Right. A lot of people struggle to say no. Okay. Now, I know it's not always possible that when one supervisor says, Sigi, can you do A, B, C, D? I can't always say no. But what I can do, I can say to my supervisor, okay, I've already got 20 things to do. Help me choose what you want me to do first. That is another way of saying no. Instead of saying yes to everything, very often I would go to my colleagues who come to me for certain things to do. And they're only too happy to load me with lots of things because it makes their life easier. And typically, Sigi will say yes to everything. But no, what I do now, I say, guys, okay, I've got 5 things that I'm doing for you. Help me prioritize the 5 things. Which one you want first, second, third, fourth, and fifth, that way. And that's another way of really saying no, Vaishnavi. And that for me is a big thing. I find that in the corporate world, even at home, people struggle with saying no. They struggle with how to say no skillfully and diplomatically. And even if that's one skill that someone can pick up, I think it'll go a long way to try and reduce stress in our lives.
I actually like that. The way you mentioned about, skillfully saying no. A lot of us still need to learn to say no, because sometimes saying no, people take offense to it. And you actually put others first before even thinking about yourself. So you feel guilty for saying no. And it just tells me that you have more organization by telling what is more important. Not that the others are not important,
Of
but
course.
you're putting the most important thing first. And it actually, it's like taking a ticket and joining the queue. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good example.
Yes, I'm just trying to think of it in a more practical way for our audience to digest it and implement it in their lives. Because mindful Trinity is all about learning and about growing, and also trying to implement it into our lives and moving forward. That's what we want to do. We don't want to be stagnant, living in one place for the rest of our lives. We are evolving. We are humans, and we are supposed to be evolving. The world is evolving, and we should also evolve with the world.
True.
Yeah. So how long have you been practicing these strategies, and how has it helped you in your journey? I know it already has helped you so much by you telling us about all these skills and how to implement it. But can you tell us more about how long you've been practicing?
Yeah, but Vaishnavi, I mean, these practices and learnings, I mean, it's a lifelong journey. I am still on that road, and surprise, I'm still learning. For me, this journey started, I would say, soon after graduation. At that time, I was doing a fair amount of community work with the temples and the organization back home. I had my turn to be in various positions, chairperson, trustee, and I'm still a trustee. And through that process, I think I cut my teeth on mentoring and coaching. At that time, I learned that I'm surrounded by seniors and people younger than me that can teach me a lot of things. And I kind of learned how to tap into them. So without them realizing, they were my mentors and coaches informally. So I would regularly go to someone, whether it's a colleague or community person, irrespective of the educational background, and ask them, how did you cope with something like that? What did you do in this scenario? And as you know, people are only too happy to share information. So for a very long time, I've had mentors and coaches help me and guide me. Also at an early stage, I learned the value of the word respect. And especially in the corporate world, because I think a lot of your viewers are from the corporate world, right? In the corporate world, what does respect mean? Respect means that if I say I'm going to do something, I must do it. If I say I'm going to deliver something on time, I must do that. Respect means if you send me a message, I must respond to your message. If you send me an email, I must respond to the email. So those sound simplistic, but just in that space alone, it goes a long way to build a relationship with your colleagues, with your seniors, with your subordinates. By just arriving, be present, and commit and do what you committed to do. That will go a long way with helping to reduce stress in the corporate world. And through this process, it has allowed me to grow at a rapid pace by learning from other people. You know, we've got the choice in life of learning on our own, meaning that we burn our fingers and we try something else, we burn our fingers again. That's the one way. The other way is to listen to the learnings of other people and not repeat the same mistakes. So by doing that, I found that my growth was at a rapid pace. And it allowed me also to take on new challenges through these principles and applying these principles. But the biggest thing for me was that by applying these various approaches, it improved my relationship with everybody around me, seniors, juniors, colleagues, etc. And that allowed me to work in a work environment where there are less stress. And I'm repeating, it's not zero stress, it's just less stress.
You know, in your previous response to me, you actually mentioned respect and people's time. When people actually send you a text, you actually, you always respond, and that's the person that you are. But how do you deal with if you was on the receiving end, you are actually sending the text or an email or any sort of communication to somebody, and they did not respond? How do you deal with that?
Okay, all right. So, you know, in the past, and maybe if I can say, Vaishnavi, a younger me, if I had to send someone an email to say, can you please do A, B, C, D, if you like. Now, the first thing I would expect is the person to acknowledge I've received the email. That's the first thing. And then secondly, to say, okay, can I give you this by tomorrow? Is that okay? That'd be the second thing. So we agree the boundaries, we agree the time. What we find today is that people are so busy, and I don't think anybody deliberately ignores someone. It's just that we get so caught up. 99%, I'm a firm believer that we don't do these things deliberately. That's maybe the 1% that may be there, but generally people don't. It's just that we are so caught up in this complex world, fast-paced world, where we've got so much to do, we tend to drop the ball regularly. So what would I do? If I had to send you an email or a message and you don't respond, I would, in a very nice way, almost joking way, say, Vaishnavi, why are you ignoring me? Or I would, if I can, if the person's in the office, I will walk to the person and say, what have I done to you today? And you know, the first reaction get, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And the person would laugh about it. I said, but I sent you an email yesterday. Am I not priority anymore? So what I'm getting at, change the way. So in this scenario, again, I spoke about earlier, I can't change the other person, but I changed me. I changed my approach. So by changing my approach, I haven't burned my bridges. I haven't upset that other person. I haven't made the other person angry. In a very nice way, in a joking way, I've got that person to acknowledge, hang on, I did receive an email, I was naughty. Now, I even do that to people that are senior than me. I even do that to my clients. I will phone the client and say, but what have I done to you now? And the first reaction you get, what do you mean, you know? So all I'm saying to your viewers and your listeners, try a different approach. Try to change me, try to change you, not the other person. And really, there is it's the exception that you really have to reprimand someone seriously. Most people, like I said, don't do this deliberately. Start from that premise and then find a way to, in a very nice way, to approach the person in a joking way. If you can do that, the upside of that is after that interaction, you're actually building more trust and you're building a better relationship. And that person will learn from me and will do that to me next time. As opposed to, Sigi, I'm waiting for you. When are you going to reply to me? And, because of the minute that conversation starts, it goes south.
Yeah, true.
And if we can change our approach, imagine if we work in a corporate world where there are lots of people that we work with, seniors, juniors, peers, etc. We will be, it won't be long, we'll be known in the entire company. I like that person's approach. So that is what I do generally.
I actually do like that. It's actually more of a mind shift. And I think we all need to practice that in order to be stress-free, because in any situation, when you're the one, why are you doing this? And it's the way you say it, your tone and all of that, you are the one getting more affected. I've also experienced that when I was in corporate, and because I was a person that's so driven, and when I do something, I do it a certain way, and I expect everyone to be like that. But life has taught me that everyone cannot be the same. No one can be like me. I'm different, and they are different as well. I just need to accept it.
Yeah. I like what you just said now about the stress component. And I just like to pause there. By using this approach, I'm actually helping myself. Yes. I'm not getting stressed. Because the other way would be, I'd be sitting and thinking, now, how do I reprimand this person? How do I sort this person out? And then I'm building up my own stress. So this is another way of reducing my own stress. Yeah.
And whether we like it or not, we're always going to go through these challenges. It's the material world, whether it's work, whether it's life, whether it's anywhere. And I think in every aspect of our life, whether even if it's with strangers or going to the shops, shopping, doing anything, whether it's driving on the road, if you actually implement all these tools that you actually gave us, all of these little skills that you shared with us, it'll help us along the way. I mean, I'm taking up so much from it. So thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Okay. Considering the high workload, like you said, it's very stressful in the corporate world. But again, I'm going to rephrase the way I ask it, because I feel stress is actually self-inflicted most of the time. Sometimes not all, sometimes it's actually not us that's causing the stress, but the way we respond to it. So considering the high workload involved in your role as a COO and a life coach, what are some of the techniques that can be used daily to create a healthy, balanced lifestyle? For those of you that don't know what COO stands for, it's Chief Operating Officer.
Okay. To try and bring about that balance, there's a couple of things that comes into play. For all of these things, Vaishnavi, one's got to have a holistic approach. If I can use the analogy, if I had diabetes as an example, I've got to take my medication, I've got to eat right, I've got to do my exercise, I've got to sleep right. I can't just choose one of them. I've got to choose all of them, and all of these factors or characteristics must come together for me to manage my diabetes. Same with me trying to cope with my workload. What I try to do is set boundaries. I spoke about the no element, how to say no, how to manage priorities. That's a big thing. The other combination for me is to sleep well. I managed to switch off when I go to sleep and switch on when I wake up again. So good sleep is critical. For me, my Monday night is my best sleep night in the week. So it's my longest sleep night. And then I'm okay for the rest of the week. So on a Monday night, I put in 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and then I'm okay for the rest of the week. Eat right. And just simplistically, I've discovered if I had to eat a small meal at night, not too late, I sleep well and I don't wake up tired. That's important for me. My exercises, my training program, the me time that we spoke about earlier, that is critical. Find me time. So I find me time. My 1 minute breaks in between. I go for a walk when I feel I'm stressed. So I don't try not to go into another meeting feeling stressed. The other thing I've learned to do is to take a nap at work during the day.
Okay.
So I can take a 10-minute nap during the day. I found a technique where I can talk myself into a nap for 10 minutes, and then I wake up, then I'm refreshed, I'm energized again to go through the next couple of hours. I've just recently written an article about the seasons in our life. What this means for me personally, I have discovered when my energy is at the highest. So if I might give you the following examples. So between the times from 4:30 to 7:30 in the morning, my energy is at its best. My body is relaxed, rested, and my energy is at its best. And that is what I call my summer. And during that period, I do the most difficult work I've got to do, like read technical reports or write technical reports or write those very difficult letters that we've got to write to somebody sometimes. I do that, and that's my summer. And my spring is between from 7:30 till 1 o'clock. And then I do the difficult meetings at work, where it's just meetings and chairing meetings. And my autumn is from 1 o'clock till about 5 o'clock, and I do the lighter stuff. And what I call my winter is when I'm at my most tired, is the evening. And that's when I spend my time with my family, watching TV, having dinner, having chats. Now, in the same way that I've got my seasons in the day, I've got seasons in the week. So like I said, Monday night is my best sleep night. So Monday is a blue Monday for me. And that's winter for me, always. And then from Tuesday to Friday is my spring and summer. And that's when I schedule all my difficult meetings. So what I'm saying is in everybody's life, we have seasons. If you can find your seasons, play with your seasons. It's not always possible. Find out when it's your summer, do your most difficult stuff in summer. And if you can find out when it's your winter, then do your stuff that where you're really tired and you don't feel like doing, you're doing the winter. And the more you play with the seasons, the more you'll smooth out the highs and lows in your life. And it helps one then to manage stress, manage anxiety, and manage one's workload in a much more calm and acceptable way.
I actually do like that, the way you actually programmed yourself how to actually do certain things, and especially with the difficult meetings and so forth, how to actually go about doing that. And I guess it actually helps you in every aspect of your life, especially with your family as well, how to actually give more time to yourself and to your family, because I'm sure it's very demanding with your workload as well.
Yeah, and also if one can find a way to synchronize with our energy flows, because our energy flows differently throughout the day, and that's the seasons I'm talking about. And to do the most difficult stuff when the energy is at its highest, and to do the lighter stuff when the energy is at its lowest.
What has been your biggest challenge as a leader in the corporate world?
Let me say, let's talk about questions. You know, typically what happens is when anybody comes to me, one of my peers or even a subordinate, and says, I've got a challenge. What do I do now? The first normal reaction from all of us at work is to give the answer. I've learned to stop giving answers, to ask questions. Through asking questions, I'm empowering the other person to figure out for themselves how to arrive at the answers. So I'm spending more and more time developing the right questions to ask, to empower other people. Through this process of empowering other people, they improve at what they've got to deliver on their own. So they come to me less and less because they are equipped with the right questions to ask on their own before even coming to you, because they know they come to me now, I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to ask, well, what do you think? What do you recommend? What do you suggest we do? And in that way, they arrive at the answers on their own. That for me has been the biggest challenge. However, it's turned out to be the biggest reward. And that is also another way how I manage my daily workload, because I am saying, guys, I'm holding you accountable for your area. If you perform in your area, I perform in my area, we're both in a good space. We both can manage our workload. Coupled with that is the other challenge of communication. We spoke about earlier about saying no and how to say no. We very often we find that when we ask our colleagues or subordinates, where's the deliverable? And then say, but what deliverable? I didn't know you want it now. That's miscommunication. Communication is a big thing in the workplace.
Yeah.
Spend the time to make sure, like you said, maybe repeat it. Ask the other person to repeat, what is it that you're going to deliver, to make sure. And I would say, let's just help each other to be on the same page. Give me your understanding of what is it that you're going to deliver. That's again the how we say it, and the words we use.
Yes.
So between communication and asking the right questions, that for me personally, besides all the normal other big challenges, that for me was the two biggest challenges that I think I had to deal with. And as I'm beginning to deal with them now, and that's a journey, a continuous journey, I find that I'm getting bigger rewards out of that space, Vaishnavi.
Okay. So basically, I would say that is actually strengthening you to be the person that you are in order to teach people how to do things a certain way as well, because you're also empowering them in what you're doing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what are the key things that you do on a daily basis to build inner strength? You spoke about mindfulness, mindful walking, mindful driving, that 1 minute of sitting still. Are there any other skills that you can share with us?
Yeah, sure. To bold inner strength, and maybe let me go off the beaten track. I mean, the things that you mentioned, I mean, that's a definite. And like I said earlier, these things come about from doing a number of things. It's a holistic approach, not just one thing. The big thing for me, like I said earlier, is my quality sleep. That makes a huge difference. The early rise in the morning, capitalizing on my morning energy, that's critical. Managing my stress, that's regularly. I manage my heartbeat during the day on a regular basis, because for me, my heartbeat is an indication of my stress level. Okay, the doctor may not always agree with me, but for me, that is a big indication. Because I find that if I walk out of a very difficult meeting where, on the odd occasion, one has to maybe reprimand someone or call someone to order, etc., I've noticed that my heartbeat goes up. So I kind of monitor my heartbeat during the day, and when necessary, I take the breaks. I sit still, I do the deep breaths, I go for a walk. So to put all of this in a nutshell, the big thing is listen to the body. I listen to the body. By listening to the body, I'm building the inner strength. When my body is in a good space, my mind is in a good space. So that's the link for me. And again, I said earlier that my body gives warning signs all the time. The warning sign, if my heart rate is high, that's a warning sign. If I'm feeling tired, that's a warning sign that I must listen to. And the trick is to listen to that. I know we rush from one meeting to another. I know it's not always possible, but we have to find, I mean, if I can use a simple analogy, if we have to go to the restroom, we go, because nature calls.
Yeah.
Similarly, the body is telling us to go to the restroom. In another way, the body is telling us, okay, take a break. Now, we can't take long breaks, but we can take short breaks. Yes. So it is through these little things that I find my inner strength. The big thing for me is to listen to my body and react accordingly, not ignore it. If I ignore my headache, after a couple of days, something serious is going to happen to me. If I ignore my constant high heart rate, within a couple of days, I'm going to get sick. And then the body will force me to take a break. I mean, we know that if we get a serious flu, we are forced to take a break. That's because I didn't listen to the symptoms and the signs early on. By listening to the signs, I then am able to adjust my daily workload, my daily balance, and then I find that I'm in a better space, and that's how I get my inner strength, Vaishnavi.
Oh, lovely. So you spoke about the heart rate changing. You actually, it tells me that you're more aware and you're more connected to your body. You also feel that your breath actually changes, because I know when me personally, when I'm stressed or just very, very anxious, my heart rate and my breath actually changes. It becomes faster, becomes faster.
True.
And when you're actually calmer, when you're happier, your heart rate and your breath is actually totally, well, it's actually, you can actually feel the difference. It's actually calmer. Like now that
Yes,
both of us are talking, my heart rate is not racing, my breath is not racing either. Because I mean, like you said, you actually know when you're feeling a difference. Do you feel that your breath as well is actually maybe going faster?
Yeah, no, but you're right. When one is stressed
Mm,
and when one is anxious,
mm,
the heart rate and the breathing picks up speed as well.
yes.
Then that, when one is in a challenging scenario at
Mm,
work,
mm,
especially, and especially when one's got to really now reprimand someone, which is the rare occasion,
mm,
one tends to raise one's voice, one
mm,
tends to speak faster
yeah,
and breathe faster.
yes.
What I've been trying of late is to speak slower and
Mm,
speak softer. And
yes.
I found that by lowering my voice, I become more calmer and the impact is a lot greater
Mm,
because I tend to get through to the other person by speaking softer and calmer. It doesn't mean I'm not being assertive.
mhm,
I'm still being assertive. I'm still saying I'm not happy with your deliverables. I'm not happy that you committed to something, but you're not delivering. But I'm just changing the way I'm delivering it. And in the process, I'm helping myself. I'm keeping my stress under control. So, but you're absolutely right about the breathing. The breathing is directly related to stress, heartbeat, and all of those things.
yeah. But I actually like your approach as well. So you give us one or two pivotal moments that has shaped your journey thus far.
Okay. Um, if I may, okay. I think there's quite a few pivotal moments in my life, and I'll just mention them without going into detail.
Mm,
For me, I think a big thing is, like many of us,
mm,
thanks to my parents, my older brothers and sisters, they made it possible for me to study further and to get the benefits of formal education.
mm,
In those days, they couldn't, for various reasons, they couldn't. Um, Another pivotal moment for me was meeting my wife and life partner, my children. Um, Also, I think deciding to read quantity surveying, that for me was a major breakthrough in my life. Starting my own business and growing that into a national practice and selling it after 10 years, that was a major thing for me. But I think the biggest one and the cherry on top is the arrival of my granddaughter. That has been an absolute bundle of joy. So that
lovely.
is the biggest moment that we're enjoying at the moment, Vaishnavi.
Okay, awesome. Can you also tell us what lessons you have learned during these pivotal moments?
I think let me talk about my granddaughter.
Okay.
Um, what she's done for me is she's taken me back to my days as a kid, number one, and the days of play. She's made me realize that it's actually, there's beauty in play. Now, and here I'm talking about playing with she's going to be 2 years in 2 months' time, so it's 18 months now. I'm talking about an 18-year-old that I'm playing with, and I'm loving it to bits. Through her, I've learned to be vulnerable. That is something we mustn't be afraid to be at the workplace, to be vulnerable. To say to our colleagues, guys, I'm feeling nervous about this. In the same way, I mean, even before we started our conversation, yes, there was a level of nervousness. But thanks to you, I mean, you're making me feel at home, you're making me feel comfortable. There's nothing wrong with saying that this is how I feel. My granddaughter has reminded me of what it is to be vulnerable, what it is to let go. It is okay. There's nothing wrong with getting down to her level and playing with her, running around in the trampoline, running around the swings and crawling on the floor. I mean, it sounds crazy for an adult to be doing that, but it's that principle of it's okay to play. It's okay to, in the moment, enjoy that, be present, be vulnerable. That for me was the lessons that my granddaughter, and her name is Laharika, that she made me realize. And I think for me, that is actually quite a big lesson, because those very same principles can apply in the corporate world. When you ask me the question of how do I react to someone that doesn't respond to my email, my message, find a playful way to interact with them. At work, don't be afraid to be vulnerable. The more vulnerable I am to my subordinates, the stronger my bond with them. The more they realize I'm just human too. I'm not just some bad person. So yeah, so that for me was the big lesson around play and the beauty of play with my granddaughter.
Beautiful name for your granddaughter, and also the lesson that she has taught you. Yeah, it's just so amazing. You know what? By this, you actually sharing all of that with us during this entire discussion. It just made me feel more grateful to interact with you during this whole process, and it also made me realize that we need more leaders like you, because in the world that we live in right now, we need more kindness. We need more laughter. Life is already so serious. It's so tough already with jobs. Not a lot of people actually have the employment. And like the other day, we had someone come home asking us for a plate of food, and they always do that. But she was so happy. She wasn't a sad person. Like, we've got all of these luxuries, I would say, but we still want more. I mean, I'm just talking in general. We want more because we're not satisfied with what we have. This girl, I'm sure she lives not in a normal house like us, but she was actually saying God is good. And I said, wow. Yeah, and she was actually dancing and singing. I said, wow, this girl is so happy. And she's actually, asking us for a plate of food. And we've got all of these, but we are not happy like her. We should actually learn from her. Like you said as well, you said in the beginning that you actually you learn from your peers, from your subordinates and all of that. It also told me, it actually basically made me realize that everyone in life, whether they actually cause you any harm or anything of that sort, they actually your teachers. It's the way you look at it and the way you respond. And I actually liked all of the skills that you actually shared with us during this whole discussion. And you also mentioned people may think that you're crazy. I don't think you're crazy, and I don't think anyone will think that you're crazy, because you bring yourself to the level of your granddaughter. Children love play. They're so happy. They only become a certain way if we condition them to be unhappy, crying all the time. Because as adults, we take on so much. We've been conditioned so much during the years of us growing up, becoming the person that we are. But when we bring that inner child out once again to play, we are much more happier, stress-free.
True.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what advice can you give our Mindful Trinity listeners or our viewers? We're also on YouTube now. So you have any advice for us?
I would say to your viewers and your listeners, connect with the universe. Connect with your body. Love yourself. Find that me time. And the more you get to know yourself and the more you connect with the universe, will you discover the gems. There's lots of gems there that will help you in your growth and your development path. And the development part is you as an individual, which affects your home life, your family life, and work life. So connect with the body, connect with the universe, and mine those gems.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely beautiful. Can our public actually find you on social media, and can you share those links with us?
Okay, Vaishnavi, yeah, I'm limited on social media, so I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. But besides that, I don't mind sharing my email. They can contact me on email or even WhatsApp. So I'm happy for you to share information with your viewers.
Okay, that's very kind of you, because not many people will be so available to help people. So thank you. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, and thank you for this opportunity. It's brilliant. I really enjoyed chatting with you, and I'm hoping that your viewers and your listeners will get some value out of our conversation.
I'm sure they will. So thank you once again to Sigi for taking the time out to speak with us and enlighten us on his journey and also skills and what we can implement in our lives. And thank you to our Mindful Trinity viewers. Please do like and subscribe, share. If you actually found any sort of value during the discussion, share it with all of your friends, and also don't forget to subscribe. Thank you once again. Bye-bye.